Hi, I'm doing another one of these. I just finished watching season 11, episode 19, and I have a lot of thoughts. I'm sure that a whole bunch of you have thoughts. I'm recording this. It's a Saturday night right before it's about to be released on AMC Plus, so I have no idea what all of you are going to think about this episode over the next week. But I did think that I wanted to just record my really quick reaction. And when I say quick, I'm sure that this is going to be like 10 minutes, like the last one. Excuse me. But I just want to dive in like right away and just give some of my first impressions on the episode before I go and write a whole bunch of stories on it. Let me just start with the end of the episode. What is going on with Rosita? Who are these people that like came in, look like they want to kidnap her, are like kicking the crap out of her? I mean, good on her for holding her own, but that was such an unexpected, wild ending to the episode. And like, who are these people? Do they work with Mercer? I don't think so. I feel like they are some more of Lance's goons, but I'm kind of just confused. It felt really random. I feel like they just needed somewhere to end the episode with suspense, because honestly, like, working up to that point, like getting towards the end of the episode, I was just like, where's this episode going to end? Because I don't know how I felt about this episode overall. I felt like I had a lot of problems with it, and I guess we can go through most of those. But the Rosita thing like really threw me off. It felt very random. We only have what, 21, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 more episodes, and right now, as I felt with the first 2 episodes, I'm just like, how are we wrapping up all this stuff? So the title of this episode is Variant. As you probably guessed, that meant that we were going to be introduced to some sort of variant walkers. Are we happy with how the variant walkers were introduced? I'm gonna be honest, I think I was expecting a little bit more. It feels a bit shoehorned into these final episodes. It feels, as I feared. I was like, are we just adding these things in to make sure that we are checking off boxes for these spin-off shows to set up certain things? And I don't know, that's kind of how it felt. Like, I get the throwback to the season 1 walker. You see this walker picking up a rock, but there was just something. I just felt like my expectation was that they were going to do something smarter with how the variants were introduced, and my great expectation was that Aaron kept saying that they were going to Oceanside. And I would have thought that it would have been such great writing, and maybe they'll still reveal this down the line, but I mean, what are we doing? We only have a few episodes left. But what I was hoping, what my expectation was that they were going to see all these walkers on the road on their way to Oceanside, and then heartbreakingly they were going to discover that these walkers were the Oceanside members killed. Because we still don't know what happened from the end of 11/16, from the mid-season finale, when Lance, tossed the coin up in the air, had all of Oceanside lined up. We don't know what their fate was, and like, I'm assuming at this point that they're dead, but it would have been really nice to confirm. Maybe they're not dead. I don't know, but at this point, this late in the show, if I knew that I only had a certain amount of episodes left, I would have said, oh, you know what would be a really great thing to do? What if we kill all of them? We do it off screen because we don't have time to show everything. And then we reintroduce them as Aaron and Jerry and Lydia and Elijah are on the road, and they run into a giant group of walkers, and then they, see Rachel Walker, they see a Sydney Park Walker, a Cindy, and then they're like, oh my God, like, how did they all die? I guess that the thing would have been, they wouldn't have necessarily have known that it was Lance's group or the Commonwealth who did that, but maybe there would have been that's why you could have had like Luke alive or something, and then rushing over to them and saying like, hey guys, this is what happened. And I thought that would have been a much more interesting way to introduce the variant walkers. It's just really frustrating when you have some expectations in your mind for like really smart, really clever ways that the show could tie in some things together to make things feel more organic, and then it feels like the show is just doing really random things. I mean, honestly, I think I had an entire problem with the idea of Aaron and Jerry and all of them getting sidetracked over to this other location during the episode, because Aaron just seemed to be like in a really bad mood, and I felt like I didn't really understand why. You know, Jerry wanted them to take a break at one point, where he was like, oh, well, what's the rush? You know, they run into an entire group of zombies on the road, an entire horde of walkers, and then Jerry was like, oh, well, we can just make camp and then we'll just carry on later on. And Aaron, for whatever reason, and this felt like a very Fear the Walking Dead, like, boneheaded move, Aaron, for whatever reason, is like, no, we have to keep going. And everyone else was kind of like, okay, but why? And he doesn't really give a reason, and no one ever pulls Aaron aside. I feel like the Jerry thing would have been to pull him aside and be like, bro, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, talk to me. And instead, they, you know, just stubbornly go on their way. Jerry says that the wagon is going to probably get stuck or something, and then it does. And it felt very much like Fear the Walking Dead writing to me, where, not to, you know, bash on Fear the Walking Dead, but so often I get very frustrated watching Fear, because I feel like the characters make really boneheaded decisions just to get, like, stuck in some situation that our survivors should be smarter. Like, they should be smart enough to know that they shouldn't do that. And that's what it felt like we were doing in this episode, just so that we could get to this other location and then introduce the variant walkers. But to me, it would have felt smarter. Like, I just don't understand why we just didn't have them continue on their way to Oceanside, show up to Oceanside, and then when they get there, just see that everyone's dead. Wouldn't that have been stronger? Like, maybe we're still going to see that, but it was a big problem that I had watching 1119. Some positives that I had, Princess's scene. I'm looking at my notes that are over here on the side. Princess had me crying. I love that character. I love how they adapted her on the show. I think Pala, it was just such a great addition. I felt like this entire episode, this is from my notes, is just Mercer's very bad, no good day, because his sister basically calls him out on, like, why are you not stepping up and, like, being the person who I want you to be? And then he goes from that right into the conversation with Princess. I will say both Max and Princess had really emotional moments in the episode that really got me. Something else I didn't like, I don't understand what they're doing with Lance's story. I will say I was very shocked to see Teo return as a walker, and I'm kicking myself now because I interviewed Teo on Friday before 1119 is airing on AMC Plus, and I didn't have time. I ran out of time to ask him if we were going to see him reanimate as a walker, and then as soon as we did, I, like, kicked myself and I was like, ah! But then I thought we were only going to get a glimpse of him. I was completely shocked to see that I don't even know if he's alive now, right? Like, the assumption is, I hope that we're going to go back to Lance, and I hope that we're going to see that he kills both Sebastian's walker and the other walker who will reanimate. I was really anticipating, what I'm still anticipating seeing is that, like, his goons are, I thought that they were going to bust him out of prison the same way that Mercer gets busted out of prison in the comics. Is that going to happen? I don't know at this point. I don't get what we're doing, kind of. I felt like there were so many things in this episode that were all over the place. I want to go back before I talk about Lance a little bit more. Like, there were just moments where I was like, why are we just, like, skipping ahead right here? Like, what happened? And one of those moments was when Aaron sent Elijah and Lydia to just go and take care of, like, 50 walkers on their own at nighttime. And Aaron said that he was going to join up with them to help take care of the rest. And then all of a sudden, it's just daytime. And I was like, wait, what happened here? Like, because I don't think that they would have been able to take care of all of them on their own. So that just felt a little weird. I feel like that's happening a lot in these final episodes, because when I rewatched 1118, I noticed that Father Gabriel and Rosita, they find Judith in the church at one moment, and you're expecting that there's going to then be a scene between the three of them. But then the next time that it's cut to Judith at the church, you see Daryl with Judith, and you're kind of just like, what happened? Like, was there a scene here that was missing? And we know that there are some scenes that are definitely being cut out because there were some official photos released from 11/18 where you saw Christian Serratos, Rosita, and Eugene interacting because Christian's holding the cotton candy, which I was expecting that she was going to give Gabe because Gabe was sad that that his parishioners didn't bring him any cotton candy, and then we just don't see that scene, and it's kind of frustrating because these are the final episodes. Usually, you know, for final episodes, you would be hoping that AMC is like pushing the marketing a little bit, and they're, you know, pushing for advertising on those episodes. So I would think that they would be okay with them running a little bit longer. But yeah, that was one frustration. The Aaron scene going from complete darkness to then like, oh yeah, we're all okay and all the walkers are mysteriously killed. I am also wondering like, okay, what happened with Lance? We just cut away from him, and is he dead now? Are we going to find out? Is this going to be like an 11/16 situation all over again where, I don't know, I have to wait episodes to know if his character is alive or dead? What else do I have in my notes? Well, another reason I'll just say why I'm frustrated with the Lance bit right now is because in 11/18 he says this one line to Pamela where he's like, you need me. And he says, you know, there were certain alliances that I built up where, and I'm paraphrasing right now, but he says that there are certain alliances where if something happens to him, these alliances, these stabilizing factors are going to like become a problem for the Commonwealth. And you might be like, is he bluffing? And Pamela's probably like, he's bluffing. But for me, I have long been wondering if one of these other alliances, because we've seen some of these other alliances that he's had with the Commonwealth, right? Carol went with him to that one like shady looking group at one point. But I have been wondering if maybe they were setting things up to say that Lance had some sort of some deal with the Commonwealth, or with the, between the Commonwealth and the Civic Republic military, rather. I feel like there have been a few little hints throughout the show, and by the time that you're watching this, there should be like a big thing that I have written about this, and why I am convinced, or at least why I'm convinced that the show should have set up some ties between the CRM and the Commonwealth, having some sort of like secret alliance through Lance, because I'm sorry, but I don't see how a group of 200,000, being the CRM from the Walking Dead world beyond, would not be aware of a group the size of the Commonwealth, which is supposed to have 50,000 people at least. That doesn't add up at all. And so to watch 11/19 and to see that Lance is possibly just getting discarded and killed off by Sebastian's undead self, and the, you know, walker to this other guy who's about to reanimate, is really frustrating. And I think a disservice to the absolutely amazing performance that Josh Hamilton has been giving as Lance Hornsby, because I feel like I've been waiting for him to just have some like giant moment where he could step in and do one of the massive deaths that you know, Sebastian's character was supposed to do in the comics. In the comics, if you're only watching the show, Sebastian kills off Rick Grimes. Obviously, you know, we're not getting something like that on the show, but I thought that if we were going to get something similar, I thought that Lance could stand in and be that person who, you know, gets so frustrated with our survivors that he goes on a rampage and he just kills off Eugene, or he kills, you know, Ezekiel, or maybe he shoots Judith or whatever, right? So let me see what else I have in my notes. Those were some of the main things that stood out to me. I keep writing in my notes every single episode, where is Virgil? So I don't know what else to say there. Maybe he's going to show up in one of these final episodes. It just doesn't make any sense here. I will say one other thing about the Lance and the CRM thing.